Imagine you wake up tomorrow morning, reach for your phone, and realize the digital numbers in your bank account are no longer a currency, but a glitch. You walk to the window and see your neighbors dumping trash bags full of $100 bills into the street because suddenly the paper is worth less than the plastic bag holding it. We've been told that money is the root of all evil, but we rarely acknowledge that it is also the glue of our entire reality. What if that glue simply dissolved overnight? This isn't just a financial crisis, it is the total evaporation of the human social contract. This is the fate flip history, where we don't just study the past, we rewrite it. To understand a world without money, we have to understand that money is not gold, paper, or code. It is a collective hallucination. It is the collective agreement that a piece of linen or a bit of data has value. If that agreement breaks, the dominoes don't just fall, they shatter. The first domino is the immediate collapse of the just-in-time supply chain. In our current timeline, the bread on your table and the fuel in your car rely on a complex web of credit. Without a stable medium of exchange, international shipping ceases within hours. Imagine a massive container ship idling in the middle of the Atlantic because the captain cannot verify payment for the fuel needed to reach the port. Within 48 hours, the grocery store shelves you see every day don't just become empty, they become battlegrounds. But here's where it gets terrifying. The collapse wouldn't start in the banks, it would start in our psychology. As a behavioral psychologist would tell you, the moment the perceived value of the future vanishes, human empathy begins to retract. We stop being citizens and start being survivors. The political consequences would be instantaneous and violent. Governments would attempt to implement emergency credits or labor vouchers. But how do you enforce the value of a new currency when the old one died in its sleep? The state's monopoly on force relies on being able to pay the soldiers and the police. If the paycheck is worthless, the uniform is just a target. In this altered reality, the global power balance flips upside down. The superpowers of the 21st century, nations built on massive debt and complex financial instruments, would crumble the fastest. New York, London, and Tokyo would become concrete deserts, massive urban sprawls with millions of people and zero resources. Meanwhile, the forgotten places of the world, rural villages in the Andes, small farming communities in Southeast Asia, or the vast plains of Anatolia suddenly become the new seats of power. Why? Because they have the only thing that matters when the myth of money dies. Tangible utility. A bag of heirloom seeds becomes more valuable than a skyscraper in Manhattan. A functional well becomes a kingdom. We are looking at a neo-feudal era where power is measured in calories and clean water, not interest rates. But then, something no one predicted happened. As the macro world burns, the micro experience of the individual becomes a haunting study in adaptation. Picture a software engineer in San Francisco. Yesterday, he was a millionaire on paper. Today, he is trading his high-end laptop for a single carton of eggs. He realizes with a sickening jolt that his entire life's work was dedicated to managing a ghost. He hears the silence of the city, a silence broken only by the sound of manual labor and the distant shouts of barter disputes. People who once ignored their neighbors now eye them with a mixture of desperate need and profound suspicion. Every interaction is a negotiation of life and death. The sensory landscape changes. The smell of burning wood replaces the scent of exhaust as people huddle over makeshift stoves in luxury apartments. You start to realize that civilization is just a thin coat of paint over a very primal basement. This hidden timeline reveals an uncomfortable truth. Our modern world is built on the fragility of trust. We don't trust each other, we trust the money. Without it, the mask slips. Midway through this collapse, we have to ask ourselves a question that forces us to look in the mirror. If you lost everything that could be measured in a bank account today, what would you actually have left that someone else would find valuable? Are you a person of utility? Or are you a product of the hallucination? The psychological depth of this shift is profound. We would see the death of the individual and the forced rebirth of the tribe. But this isn't a peaceful return to nature. It is a violent restructuring of human hierarchy. The social transformation would be brutal. Education, art, and long-term scientific research would vanish overnight. When the stomach is empty, the mind has no room for the stars. We would see a great simplification of the human experience. Global communication networks would flicker and die as the technicians realize no one is coming to repair the satellites for a handful of useless paper. The world would get very big and very dark again, and then something even more disturbing occurs. History tells us that humans cannot live in a vacuum of value for long. In the absence of money, we would see the rise of commodity cults. Perhaps cigarettes become the new gold, or perhaps it's something more sinister like protection credits issued by local warlords. The global power shift wouldn't lead to a utopia of sharing. It would lead to a fragmented world of 1,000 tiny dictatorships. The history explained in our textbooks usually focuses on kings and wars, but the real driver has always been the flow of capital. By removing it, we have essentially removed the engine from the car while it was moving at 100 miles an hour. The crash isn't a single event. It's a tumbling, metal-grinding transition that lasts decades. We would see the rise of a new dark age, where the ruins of our malls are treated like the ruins of Roman temples, monuments to a god of commerce that people no longer understand. As we look at this potential alternate history, we find ourselves at a chilling paradox. Money is the source of our greatest inequalities and our most horrific greed. Yet it is also the only thing preventing us from returning to a state of constant, low-level tribal warfare. It is the bridge that allows two people who hate each other to trade goods and stay at peace. If that bridge collapses, we fall into the abyss of direct exchange, where the only leverage is force. This is the ultimate fate flip. We think we own our money, but the reality is that the money owns our peace. Was the invention of currency the greatest tool for human liberation? Or was it the ultimate trap that made us too fragile to survive its absence? We are left with an unsettling realization. Our entire global civilization, the planes in the sky, the internet in your pocket, the food in your fridge, is floating on a cloud of collective belief. If we stop believing tonight, the world doesn't just change, it ends. and a new, unrecognizable one begins in the ashes. The question isn't whether the economy will crash, but whether our humanity can survive the loss of its most powerful fiction. Was history inevitable, or was it just one decision away from total collapse? Is the value of your life truly yours, or is it just a number someone else decided to give you? Tell me what you think in the comments. Would you survive the first week of the barter era, or are you too tied to the digital ghost? Challenge the theory, rewrite the timeline, and let's discuss the fragility of our world. This is the Fate Flip History. Stay curious, stay questioning, and remember, the timeline you know is only one version of the truth.